Muted.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Foursys and LogPoint webinar. Today you're going to see a SIEM solution that cuts through the plethora of alerts normally dished out by such systems. SIEM, of course, stands for Security Incident and Event Monitoring. You'll see a SIEM solution that avoids the alert fatigue often created by multiple meaningless events in other SIEM systems. You'll see how LogPoint creates the few alerts that you really need to be concerned about, which is exactly what you want from a true SIEM system like this. LogPoint is headquartered in Denmark. It's used by large corporates such as Boeing, as well as in defense, law enforcement, intelligence, and other public sector organizations. It's actually of particular interest to these customers because it's EAL 3+ certified. So before we get started, a few words of introduction. My name is Jez Turner. I'm a director and co-owner at Foursys Limited. Foursys has been in business now for 22 years. We focus purely on IT security. We're a major partner for LogPoint, for which our engineers are all fully accredited. Foursys builds long-term relationships. Over 500 of our 1,000 customers have been with us for more than 5 years. We have world-class engineers. We provide a full range of consultancy, services and support for every stage of an IT security project. Foursys can help you with any LogPoint project that you may have. I'm joined today by Andy Deacon, security consultant for LogPoint. Andy will be the main presenter for this event today, and he will answer any questions you may have at the end of the webinar. Before we continue, I just want to go through a few housekeeping points. So this webinar will be recorded. We will send it to you after the event so that you can share it with your friends and family. You'll be on listen-only mode throughout the entire webinar. Please do ask questions throughout the event. There's a Q&A option. I'm sure you're familiar with that sort of thing if you've looked at webinars before. It's at the bottom right of your screen, and Andy will answer your questions at the end of the session. I anticipate the webinar will last no longer than 30 minutes, and there'll be a 5-minute intro, so Andy's going to do a 5-minute intro, and then a product demo for 15 to 20 minutes on there. If you'd like to start a free trial, or you would like a more in-depth demo after this, please do contact Foursys directly and we can help you. In addition, Foursys is embarking upon a 10-day tour called Don't Get Hacked, or DGH for short. Details are on our Foursys website. Please take a look. Do come along if you're interested in finding out more about cutting-edge security technology. LogPoint will be part of this tour, so that if you'd like to find out more about them and other technology, then please do come along to one of the 10 locations that we are visiting. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass over to Andy now to talk to and show us a bit about LogPoint. Thank you.
Thanks, Jez. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Andy. I'm a security consultant, work at LogPoint. I'm just going to take you through some of the reasons why you might be interested in SIEM and what we can do and what's different about us. So we were launched in 2001 in Denmark. We have a large market share in Denmark, and we're now branching out through key partners such as Foursys to the UK, Germany and other European destinations. Why do people deploy SIEM? Well, there's 3 key areas really, and you're probably going to come in box 1 or box 2 of those 3 really. The first driver for most people is information governance. It's compliance. It's help with producing the compliance reports and ensuring that your policies and things like that are being adhered to through information gathering and things like that. The second part is moving on from that. So it's giving you the sort of single pane of glass view from your security infrastructure, overlaying that with additional security content and helping to de-skill the response. So putting context around what that alert actually means so that you know how to respond, who needs to view that, and it gets through to the right people at the right time for that all-important security intervention. Moving on from that, it's then putting more contextual stuff in there around your network, around your organization, so that the security alert, when it fires, is in the context of your organization. You see how important that is or not in the context of you. It's then looking at other use cases, such as what happens when somebody leaves the organization. So when somebody goes onto a leavers list, we can run a report that tells you all the files that they've accessed and all the emails that they've sent in the last month. So that if you place them on gardening leave, you know what they've looked at and potentially what they've taken before they've left. Similar things with printers. Printers is another very good one, and I'll show you the use case for that in the demo shortly. Any questions at any point during this, do pop it into the question box, and I'll cover them off during the demo. If not, at the end's fine. Very simply in LogPoint, how we do, we collect the log files in. Now, we don't care what the source is. We can bring in binary data, we can bring in ASCII data, we can bring in flat text files, CSVs, syslogs from network and appliance, security appliances, reading inside databases, integration with SAP, all that sort of stuff. At LogPoint, we don't really care what the log source is. We can normally ingest it. What we'll then do is we'll normalize it, so we'll make them all look and feel the same, so that when you're searching and looking through them, you can search and get context and know what those log files are, and it makes it easier. We then store them within the LogPoint system, so you don't need any additional databases or anything else like that. It's all stored within the LogPoint sort of infrastructure. And from then on there, you can then obviously dashboard, report, a search, correlate, or alert. LogPoint is designed so that once it's been installed and it's up and running, and typically that's done within the week, it will tell you if there's something going on. It will tell you if there's something that needs your attention. Otherwise, you'll be logging in to have a little bit of a look around, have a bit of a fish around. Maybe you'll be fielding HR questions or something like that and finding out what so-and-so did on Thursday. All of that sort of reasons for why you're coming in there. But it will tell you if there's any important thing going on and take you straight through to what that alert is. And as mentioned at the beginning of this, we also have EAL3 certification. So this basically means that we can be used in defense type organizations and anybody who needs that extra assurance around our source code, our procedures, our processes at LogPoint, and also how we store and ensure that log files are tamper proof. So that's what that certification is. We're the most recent SIEM vendor to go through that certification by around 7 years, and EAL3 Plus is the highest certification that we can get for software. So if there's any questions at this point, pop them in the window. If not, what I'll do is start going through the demo. Cool. Hopefully everybody can see a delightful LogPoint green screen. Yeah, there's been nobody say we can't, so I'm going to assume that you all can. The first dashboard here that you can see is from Active Directory, and this is to give you, this is all out of the box. Everything I'm showing you, you get on day one. It gives you an idea of the sorts of things that you can do and what you might want to do. So for Active Directory, it's obviously a key part of a lot of compliance things, but it's also a key part of security operations. You're going to want to know what your account lockouts are, who's creating accounts in there, what we term suspicious accounts. So that's an account that's been created, used, and then deleted within a short space of time. Likewise, if any accounts have been uplifted or anything else like that in permissions and dropped back down again. You're also then going to want to know about failed login attempts from the same source address or the same machine. So do you have lots of people trying to log on from one machine, or lots of accounts trying to log in from one machine, and it's constantly failing? It might be a sign of a breach or other sort of security incident that's going on. Likewise, login attempts on disabled accounts. The other things that you're also maybe going to want to monitor around this are going to be the log on, log off time delta of a user account. It might be that if that time delta between they log on and log off is very short, it could be an indication that somebody's running through and scripting. So it's a script running through to see what compromised accounts are active and working. Excuse me. The other thing that you're going to be wanting to look at within this as well is going to be what some people term the successful brute force. Rightly or wrongly, you can argue about the naming of that, but essentially the process is maybe your AD account locks out on the 10th go. we can show you all those people that successfully log in on the 8th or 9th go, because if it takes you 8 or 9 goes to log in, that's probably not somebody going and forgetting that they've got caps lock on for 8 goes. So they're the sorts of things that you can bring in and you can do with that. We also can bring in things around file system monitoring as well. So what the file system monitoring does is it allows you to see who's making changes to what files, who's accessing what files, and alert on all of that accordingly. So if you have key safeguarding information within your infrastructure, or you have areas that only HR or maybe the directors should access, you can monitor and audit who from that group is successfully accessing those, because you want to know who's accessing the sensitive information. But you can also create alerts and be shown who outside of that group is trying to access them, and if they've been successful in accessing them, more importantly. You can also do things more around the operational types of stuff, and what we term the operational stuff is you're looking at the network flow, you're looking at potentially net flow, where data is flowing between different locations, whether people are breaking bandwidth rules, whether people are trying to stop and start services on particular servers and all that sort of stuff. Things where this comes into play is when you start to expand this out. So if you start to bring in things like VoIP systems and things like that into there, you can very quickly alert on the fact that if all of a sudden your file server is making a VoIP connection, that could be a sign that actually it's malware on there trying to dial data home or something like that, rather than actually a Skype conversation or something like that, which you probably wouldn't want on your file server anyway. Again, you can bring in stuff from email and things like that as well, so looking at outbound information, who's logging on to other people's mailboxes as well. So if you've got people who have privileges to do that, you can monitor, record and audit when and how they've done that. You can also set things up here. So at the moment we're monitoring emails going out with CAD drawings. So we're pulling all that information out of the email system and going, this has a CAD drawing attached. I'm going to visualize it and present it in that way because maybe I'm a design firm and CAD drawings are my bread and butter. So I want to know who's moving them around. We can do things with malware as well. At a very base level, what we can do with malware is we can bring in all the stuff from your AV products and things like that and make it look pretty and graph it and chart it. Other use of this is you can very quickly find out what machines are missing AV, because you can bring in the list of your machines from your AV and you can bring in the list of machines from Active Directory, and you can cross-correlate the two within the SIEM, and it will go, these machines here don't have AV on them, or the AV is stopped on these machines. We also do things periodically around major malware families. This is for Black Energy, which is an old Trojan that's reared its head again with a nasty payload, mainly targeting critical infrastructure at the moment. What the SIEM will now do in real time is it's looking for all the indicators of compromise associated with that from all of your security products, because that's what the SIEM can do. The SIEM is device agnostic. It can read from any vendor's security product, pull that in and present the useful information out. So we're now looking in real time and alerting you on anything that flags up as an indicator of compromise associated with this. But because maybe you've got 6 months or a year worth of log data in the SIEM as well, we can also run those searches back through time. So you can see whether there have been any indicators of compromise associated with that malware family that maybe happened 5 or 6 months ago that went undetected. But you can now start to investigate that and see what's going on there. So the SIEM is a very, very powerful thing for crunching data and putting outputs. Now, you might think that to search all of this is very complicated. Within LogPoint, essentially, if you can use Google, you can search for data in here. It's English language searching. It doesn't need SQL or anything else like that. And it's fairly straightforward to do, as I'll show you. Excuse me. So let's just select the data where all my stuff is stored, and for the last 6 hours, and hit search. So this is now returning all the log data that is in that particular repository for our demo environment. You can see here that this is the raw log, and this is the normalized log. The raw log and the normalized log are searchable. If I want, I can left click on that and that will narrow the search field down to that, or I can left click on that and that will narrow the search field down to anything that matches that category, or any log files that have that category in. So I can clearly go through here with the mouse and start to narrow this search instance down. But if I put the pipe in and hit space, it actually starts to prompt me to build up search criteria for visualizing all of this and helping you to search through this. So let me go with application. So I want to see all applications that are active in the last 6 hours. Now, because this is a canned demo environment, a lot of these logs that you're going to be coming in here and seeing are going to be from our Palo Alto, so they're web-based, but there are some Windows-based logs and all that sort of stuff within here. So let's have a little go through this list and pick an interesting one. Here we go, let's go with Tinder. So if I click on the spyglass here, this will now show me all of the log files associated with Tinder in the last 6 hours. So here I can see all the raw log, all the gibberish there, and all of that is normalized out. So let's say all I want to do now is find who's using Tinder. I can just do chart count by user. Simple as that. Hit search. And there we go. These are all the people in my organization who have used Tinder in the last 6 hours going through our Palo Altos. It's that straightforward. That application could be anything. You can obviously cross-reference this against things such as if you want to bring in and track against radius authentication and follow the MAC address through to find out who the ultimate end user was. We can do all that sort of stuff as well. It is that straightforward to find and visualize data within the system. If I now want to add that to a custom dashboard, so that I can have a pretty chart associated with that, or maybe I want a custom alert rule associated with that. We've got hundreds of alert rules out of the box for all the standard stuff associated with compliancy, all the standard Windows and firewall things that you might want to get alerted on. But let's say I want to create a custom alert here, so I'll call this a Tinder test. Next, I'm going to put a big number in there so it doesn't fire in our demo system. Now there's two parts to the alerts and notification things within LogPoint. You've got the incident or the rule match or the thing that broke the rule, and then you've got the notification piece. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to be very flexible. So you can turn around and you can go, if a networking guy makes a change on a core switch within the hours of 9 to 5, normal business hours, I'm going to draw that out as an incident because it's a risk to the business. I want to know and track and have it very clearly flagged that that happened. But I don't want to tell anybody about it. But if he logs in at midnight outside a maintenance window, then I want to tell somebody about that. Or it might be the case that if incident A happens, just draw it out as an incident. If incident A and B happen, though, within an hour, email the help desk. If incident A, B, and C happen within 3 hours, email the security guy. So you can do this sort of tiered notification piece, again, very simply. And if you want to put anything in here via email, you can simply put the email address in the subject, any message you want in there. We support a scripting language called Ginger within here, which essentially works like this. So if I want to include the username associated with that, I could just put that in. Any pre-compiled reports all have all the scripting already in place. And at the end of all of these, you'll get a click here to view this data. And to be honest with you, that's the best way to do it and to leave it in there, because email is very rarely the right place to start viewing all of this information. Click on the link, that will take you straight back into the LogPoint system with all the relevant information highlighted and presented to that user. So we can obviously update via email. We can also do HTTP notifications. So if you've got a fancy dashboard that you're using that isn't LogPoint or it's another system, we can push information into that. We can also trip SNMP as well. So if you've got network monitoring tools that you might want to trip information out to or anything else like that, we can do that. We support SMP version 2 and 3. We also do syslog notifications. So what this means is you can actually send those raw log messages out to another system, or you can use us to trip third-party remediation tools, things like Foursys and others, and we've got full integration with those to make automated action based on the information coming from the SIEM, coming from LogPoint. You can do a similar thing with SSH as well. So the scenario for SSH might be, I'm a VPN user and I successfully VPN into your organization, but my geolocation is reported as China. You might decide that nobody should be VPNing in from China, and so this alert will fire. It will then log into your VPN terminator if SSH login is supported, log in and run the command to terminate that particular connection. What we normally recommend, though, is that you get all the stuff in there and you get an idea of what's normal, what's happening in your organization before you then start moving on to the sort of third-party remediation or remediation from within the SIEM. So that's the alerting piece covered off. Reporting, again, is dead straightforward, and I'll just quickly show you that. We've got loads of out-of-the-box reporting for all sorts of compliancy standards. If there's any compliancy standard that isn't in it, that's fully covered to have that created under your support contract. You've just got to ask us for it, and we will do that. The typical turnaround, again, is around 36 hours for that. So if I click on some of the templates that are in here, I'm going to go with this one here, GPG 13 Network Activities. You can see here these are all of the search criteria associated with the particular categories within this guidance and compliance. If I want to at this point here, I can add additional queries in from anything that I've searched for in the past, anything that I've got as a saved search, or any of the other additional out-of-the-box searches that you can see here. I can delete them because you might decide that actually this one isn't relevant for this report. I can move them up and down in order. If I want to schedule this, then all I do is I simply say when I want it to be scheduled. So I'm going to say I want to run this weekly and monthly. If I click on that, I can say when, day and time and hour and all that sort of stuff. If I alter the time zone is the time zone for the report when it's produced. So if I have other people in other time zones, I can format it in their time zone to make the data relevant to them. What export format I want in, so I'm going to have a PDF copy in this instance and a Word copy. I could click as many of these as I wanted. And if I want to send that out to an email address, I just put that in there and then that will automatically be sent out. I can alter all of the layout in here, and we have a template within here that you can alter. And what that will do is it will upload in your logo, your approved corporate colours and fonts, and then the report will automatically be formatted as per your approved corporate style. If I want to personalise any content of the report, then I simply click on Personalise. Here's all the blurb associated with the GPG13 network activities. I can alter, modify any of this, delete any of it out, add any new pages in or anything else like that. It's dead straightforward. Now, everything within LogPoint is user permission driven, so I can have people log in and they are literally only able to see a dashboard, or they're only able to see one data or run one thing or view a report. The same with this. So in the notification piece here, if I don't click it, send email, it will appear in my inbox and only my inbox unless I share it with somebody. So everything can be locked down. You can even mask certain data. So one of the things that we like you to do at LogPoint is to bring in more data. We charge per node, so we don't penalise you for bringing in data. And a node is simply something that's sending us a log file. That's how we license. The more data you bring in, the better, because it gives you better contextual awareness. So imagine the following scenario. I'm an IT admin in your organisation. I log into my workstation in the morning, nothing unusual there. I then log into your finance package as the CFO. We will alert you on the account mismatch, because typically you'd expect the user logged on to then log into subsequent systems as himself. So at this point here, you're gearing up and getting ready to come over and investigate me because I've clearly gone rogue. But if you'd have brought a bit more of this contextual information I keep talking about in, so maybe you'd have brought door swipe card data in, or maybe you'd have brought the HR database in, or both, you would now know I didn't swipe into the building this morning, and according to the holiday information, I'm on holiday for 2 weeks. How you now react and respond to that security incident will be very different. And yes, you may have found that information out further down the line, but that may have been too late to really affect the impact of it. If you know that that's happening at that particular point in time, and you know what workstation it's on, you can walk across and see exactly what's going on at that particular instance. That's the power of bringing in the contextual information. That's what we're all about, is giving you that context information. One last thing, and then any questions. So how we store this is in proprietary databases, so it's all in our proprietary format, all securely encapsulated, digitally signed, all that sort of stuff, so it can't be tamper-proof. It can't be tampered with. If you're an admin of the system, even you don't have access rights to go in and delete or modify any of these log files. And what I can do here is I can simply turn around and I can go, that's the default on-box storage location, I'll keep them there for 30 days. That could be 90 days, it could be a year, depending on what's been spec'd up. Or you might turn around and go, do you know what, I'm going to keep them on the box for 90 days and I'm keeping them on my SAN or slower storage system or tape for the rest of the year. So I simply put those dates in there. LogPoint will manage the movement of the files between the two locations and their ultimate deletion once that time period is expired. Anything that's listed here still counts as live storage. So even if they're on tape, as long as those tape drives are in, you can still run a report on that data. It will just take a little bit longer to return because the I/O is slower. We also support fully distributed networks through collectors, search heads, and full HA. So here as well, I can just simply, if I want to do HA, I select my remote LogPoint in there, my other LogPoint server, and the time period that I want the data mirrored to that server for. That's it, dead straightforward. So that's me done with a very quick demo. If you do want any more information, you want a more in-depth demo, then do get in touch with your local Foursys account rep, who'll be able to put you in touch with us and we can sort all of that sort of stuff out. Any questions, anybody? Aha, we have some questions. Here we go. Does it integrate with SharePoint Online and Office 365 logs? Yes, we can do that as long as you have requested access to the API from Microsoft. The 1-week installation. So this depends on the log sources that you're bringing in. So we normally working on the number of nodes. So assuming you're 500 nodes or under, what we would normally say is that is a 3-day installation. 2 of those days our engineers or the Foursys engineers will be on site with you, bringing in all the systems, showing you how to bring them in, showing you how to use it, showing you how to do all the searching. And then with the remaining day, what we do is we'll leave you for a couple of days on a 3-day install, maybe a couple of weeks to go, how are you getting on with it? What are you doing? At this point here, most customers turn around and go, oh, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, in which case we'll send our trainer in and do advanced user training with you that's bespoke to you to show you all the more advanced features that you can take advantage of. Or you might turn around and go, I want to do this, this, and this. I haven't got the time to do it. We'll come back in and do it for you. If you're above 500 nodes, so anywhere between sort of 500 and up to 5,000 nodes, that typically takes a week, so 5 working days to do the install. So where does LogPoint sit on the network? So LogPoint is software, so you can install it in virtual environments. We support all sorts of virtual environments. You can store it and put it into cloud platforms because it's software. We can supply appliances as well, or you can install it on your own hardware as long as the spec is relevant for the data that you want to bring in. External threats, there's a question around that, so I'm going to assume that you mean sort of external threat list and things like that. So we can monitor external threats, so we can bring in third-party threat feeds and use that data to cross-correlate against network outbound connections and other things that are running within your infrastructure. Costing-wise, we sell through the channel, so our channel partners are key. So for costing and things like that, if you get in touch with Foursys, let them know your node count. We'll be able to get a price to you via your Foursys account rep. The system can cope with NAT. Obviously, that we'd have to expand out a little bit more on what you mean by that question. But we do work in NAT environments, and we can successfully trace things through because we bring node counts in from various different things, and we have data from various things. It's quite easy to cross-correlate and see what address has been assigned where in what particular point in the network. So even if you've got a couple of NAT locations, it's easy to track that IP through and the MAC address through and all that sort of stuff. We do a virtual appliance. It can be run as a managed service. Again, if you have a chat with Foursys, they'll be able to talk to you around that sort of stuff. And what we define as a node is something that sends a log file. So if you have a Windows server, a firewall, a switch, anything else like that that's sending us a log file, that's a node. So say I've got one Windows server and I'm sending to LogPoint the AD information on there, I'm sending the DNS and DHCP information, and I'm sending my AV logs as well, all on that same server. That is a one-node license. Take the other scenario, I've got an ESX server or a virtual server, and I've got 10 Windows server on top of that, and I'm sending in log files from all of those 10 Windows server and the virtual server underneath that. That would be an 11-node license because it's 11 nodes there. So LogPoint does support forensic investigations, and we've got lots of organisations and large companies doing this to support threat investigation and things like that, so we can fully cope in those situations. And again, part of that is how we store and do the log things, and also how we can integrate with workflows. Windows desktops only count as a node if you've installed the agent on there and you're bringing in the log files. Most Windows desktops will actually authenticate back against AD and most of the things from AD. So unless there's something specific on there that you're monitoring, a Windows desktop wouldn't count as a node. Well, there we go. That was a very quick, rapid-fire question and answer session. It doesn't look like... Oh, here we go. Does LogPoint integrate with Mimecast? Yes, we can integrate with Mimecast and a whole host of other things. Again, if you get in touch with Foursys, we can discuss all of that in way more detail. So I think that's everything from my side. I'm going to hand back to the guys from Foursys if you're there to wrap up with. If anybody does want any more information about, you know, systems we integrate with and all that sort of stuff, the best thing to do is to get in touch with Foursys, and we can get all that information out to you.
Andy, thank you ever so much for that demonstration. Very good. There's some questions on managed service as well. We'll make sure that people who are asking those, we'll get the account managers to give you a call and discuss the various options around managed service. But that is it for this webinar. We will send you a link to the recording, and thank you all for joining us, and I hope to see you again soon.